Well, we know that our V8 supercar drivers aren't too afraid of mountains, especially when it comes to Bathurst, but I don't know how they felt about this. So we all got excited about 1 month until Bathurst. We let a few of the guys go swapping their race helmets and try out a little bit of abseiling. I know that Scott McLaughlin in particular isn't all that okay with heights. He looked a little bit uncomfortable there with just a rope holding on to him. I know the feeling, Scott. And thankfully we managed to bring them all back in one piece, Jason Bargwanna, and they'll be on the grid later today for the first of their 2 races.
So it's a big move by Scotty McLaughlin there. He gets nerves at the top of escalators, so he's actually done very well to go off the edge of the mountain. But look at this, these times here in qualifying. I mean, it's been very close. It's came down to 600ths of a second between first and second. But the grid, the top 10, is only spread by just over or just under half a second. So these guys are going to be, it's going to be very close for them. It's a good battle. Championships on the line, and they're all very quick.
Just flicking through some of the onboards, and Craig Donsis on the Hawkeye onboard, the Thirsty Camel Ute. It's been a bit of a testing time for him so far this year. It started good on the streets of Adelaide. His home race at Clipsal just needs to get some of that speed back today at Sandown, and he actually threw oil all over the racetrack in the first practice session, missed the whole first practice. The second session was pretty much interrupted as well. Keep an eye out for this car and the Wanda onboard of Jeremy Gray. You can't quite see it from this angle, but you'll notice it later in the weekend. It's possibly got the brightest fluoro paint job you'll ever see getting around at a racetrack. And we'll wait and see what Lost It has got planned for us today as they work their way around the end of the warm-up lap. There we go.
There it is.
Told you it was bright. Retina threatened that one.
I mean, the colourful looking cars out there, the Utes, they present well, they do a fantastic job. They've got great sponsors on board, and they produce some great racing. So as they're coming up to grid, trying to get that tyre temp up is so critical. And particularly here today at Sandown, the sun is shining. It is a beautiful day here, and the track temp's up quite high. So getting that tyre temp critical for the start of this race is going to be very important.
Now, I know that you're quite passionate about your karting. So too is Chris Walton. He's actually broken his right hand in a recent karting accident. So he comes into today on the mend. He said it was okay in practice yesterday, managed to hang on to the thing all right. Let's just see how he goes by the end of the weekend after he goes banging door handles.
He'll be right. Bit of adrenaline in the system. He'll be fine. He'll get on with it. So not a highly physical car to drive these Utes. Yeah, he did damage his hand in an accident. He's currently fighting next weekend in Melbourne for a big kart race as well. But here he is sitting on the front row of the grid. And look at that grid, that looks fantastic.
He's leading 3 separate championships at the moment. He's leading both the V8 Ute championships here in New Zealand and also that karting championship that we were just alluding to. He's alongside Ryle Harris, who's changed teams now. He's made the move over to Matt Stone Racing, which will also see him on the grid at Bathurst in a Dunlop Series car as he takes over the car that Stephen Johnson has been driving recently. That's the flag that we're all looking for, because when the green flag waves at the back of the grid, we'll be in the starters' hands and ready for the first race of the V8 Utes, fueled by Holt's Breath Cafe. A very long run, nearly 700 metres from where they're sitting right now to the first corner. It's a lot of time to get yourself into trouble in the approach to turn 1. The red light comes on. Walton alongside Harris, the first race for the Utes. Very even jump between the 2 guys in the front row, and all of the Utes are moving, and great stuff from Harris. He moves to close that inside run with the approach to turn 1, and I think he's done it. He's done it cleanly. Oh, contact and pretty cracked sideways. It looked like he got a tap from Cedars. He hung on to it. Great bit of driving as Spud Wood does a bit of bush bashing as well, and it's going to be very tight towards turn 2. Riding on board Jeremy Gray. Tyres squealing, they're cold, bouncing over curbs. Turns 3 and 4, so far so good, and what a save that was from Pretty. Jason, he was very sideways.
He did a great job there. There was a bit of contact in the middle of the field, but the front guys got through nice and clean. So the battle now is really at the front. As you can see, Marriage is side by side up over the top of the hill.
This is going to be brave.
It's going to be exciting on the outside there. I wouldn't like to be there, but Ryle Harris, he got that second bite. The initial jump was quite clean between the 2 of them.
And Barber wants to make it 3 wide. That is advantageous, and Mediki's out in the marbles. That was hard-in-your-mouth stuff. He did a good job to hang on to that. But Elliot Barber with possibly the best move we've seen all season long, getting 2 on the approach to one of the most daunting corners in Australia. You're riding on board with Dontis as we finish this first lap. Cedars squeezing going on. He's pushing out Ryan Hansen, the winner of the first race last year in the multi-spares truck spares car. And that was exciting stuff towards the end of that first lap with Jared McLeod in there as well. Full rebuild for that car in the 2 months that we've had off. But exciting first lap. Put a circle around Elliot Barber's name because he's on a mission, but it's Ryle Harris at the front in the all-purpose pest control car, West End Mazda, alongside that partnership that they've set up now with Matt Stone Racing. This is Matty Nolan with a big look at the inside, and very, very loose. Sam Barry It's our New Zealand visitor, one of two that we've got in the race with James Huggy Urquhart, but he manages to pull the car back up at turn 2. Just sneaks it in. And we'll get that thing brought back onto the racetrack just in front of, I think that's Danny Buzadzik as well, who's making a return to the series.
Did a great job there. He's out in the dirt. He hung on to it, but there's that initial jump. The two cars got away quite even, but Harris's car, he just hooked up and away it went by the time they got to second gear, and he had the run into the first corner. But look at this action. 3 wide down the middle of the field. Contact!
Oh, that was Cedars into the side of Pretty, and Pretty did a very good job to hang on to it. Spud Wood went sideways as well. Now that's the car that we can expect to see getting very sideways. The round winner from this track last year, the GoPro car. He's looking forward to having a few of the GoPro representatives meet him up for Bathurst. We're looking off the back of Andrew Fisher. Here comes Cedars, locks the left front, tag.
A little bit nerdy, nasty I should say, a bit naughty, but a bit of contact there. But yeah, Pretty just missed the jump. But look at this, 3 wide across the top of the hill. This is brave stuff. This is a fast part of the track. And Medeki's done a great job out in the dirt and the dust to hang on to it.
And this is Nolan up the inside, but there's a few guys skating off, and it was Sam Barry locking those rears, maybe just getting a little bit too wide on the entry and going very wide in the middle of the corner. Looking off the back, Yokohama replay of Dontis, and there he goes, the Kiwi. Bit of drifting. Did a good job to gather that one back up. By the time they got to turn 2, the super slow-mo shows the action. Very, very sideways through the gravel. That's caught a few people out this week in that very one corner alone.
On the lock stops out of turn 1, it's always fun. So he's done a great job to recover it, but the rooster tails through the grass to get back on the track. He hasn't lost that many positions.
Tell you what, they're not hanging around. We've already got 8 drivers under the lap record, which is set here last year. So the Utes have come to play as we pick up the race leaders once again. And Ryle Harris, known as the Kid last year, 2-time champion. Now we call him the Pest. And a big lock up from Walton. Manages to get that thing stopped by the time they get down to Dandenong Road.
Chris Walton's slightly quicker at the moment, so he's starting to put a little bit of pressure on the leader, on Ryle Harris. Across the top of the mountain, nice and balanced with the car, but just as he got on the brakes, he's caught that right front, and that's upset him a little bit. Lost that little bit of ground he's made up. It's just where it comes down to those tenths. Like he's looking for pressure, looking for that little mistake on Harris, because that's the way he's going to find a way through. Tries to tuck in for the toe, and really, if he works towards it, we've got one in the sand.
Oh dear, Scott Nicholas down in his first race meeting with the Utes, and that is in a very precarious spot. Could almost be worthy of a safety car down there at Dandenong Road. He actually got stuck there in qualifying after he got punted off by Ryle Harris, but this one, he's done all on his lonesome. Rotates the car once, and stuck heavily in that gravel. This is what it looked like from behind. Started with the fronts, and then I guess he just really stood on that middle pedal.
Started on the fronts, then the rear went, then it's hang on for the ride. So it's managed to park it in the sandpit, which is not in a good spot. But I'm not sure if they're going to get that safety car out. It probably will be something they'll have to look at, because where that is there, it's quite a dangerous spot as you come down the hill, and I reckon they'll have to bring the safety car out. There's no reason why they shouldn't, and yeah, the safety car's just come out of pit lane now.
So the safety car has been deployed with Ryle Harris, your leader, so desperate to make good what has been a fairly luckless season for him so far, Ryle. When you go looking through the results, his name is definitely one missing off the winners list. The Petters SRT safety car is now circulating, picking up the fields, and we'll control this field ready for a restart. Head off to a quick ad break, but I know that this one's got a long way to go just yet. Harris and Walton, the 2 guys who are leading the field at the moment. It's only the first race of 3 for these guys this week, and you don't want to miss the rest of this one at the other side of this break. Elliot Barber, he's currently circulating a fair bit back in this field in 11th, but he's been driving the wheels off the Just Car Insurance Ute. You're watching race 1, the Australian V8 Utes. It's all fueled by Hog's Breath Cafe, and Hog's Breath celebrating 25 years this year, and they've signed on for the rest of the season as well. So great support from the Hogster, and looking forward to the rest of the season for these guys as we circulate the country. And Jason, they'll be doing all the big meets. We'll be there for Bathurst, we'll be there for Gold Coast, and then we'll finish the year off in style with the final race of the season happening in Sydney. And this long field working their way through. Under safety car at the moment, and this is why, because we've welcomed in a newbie this weekend, and unfortunately Nicholas has been slipping and sliding a few times this weekend, and second time he's managed to get himself stuck in the gravel. Jason, talk us through this one. So
there's a little bit of brake pressure as the car's not quite settled. It's caught the right front, caught the left front, and then it's all hang on for the ride. He's done a good job to try and hang on to it, but once it got on the curb, away it went, and she's buried in the sandpit there. So as you can see there, it just locks up the fronts, and he's released the pressure, but the car's just got onto the curb and away she's gone. So It's obviously an end for his race. He'll get back out and probably rejoin down the back, but we'll be a couple of laps down. But it's interesting to see, just before that safety car was coming out, it was Jesse Dixon that was actually putting the pace on. He was actually closing those 2 leaders down. So with this safety car now, it's closed that gap up. That little advantage those 2 guys pulled early, it's now gone, and they're all nose to tail.
We'll keep an eye on the Heyman Reese ute. He started off the second row. We're checking out some highlights of the start of this race at the moment. It got very exciting down towards turn 1 with Cedars getting into the side of Pretty.
You can see Cedars locked up, just released the brake, tap into the side of Pretty, but they got on racing, it was fine.
Big moment this one. Sam Barry in the Scots ute getting way out into the grass. Did such a good job just to catch this thing and bring it back in one piece. Did take some of the gravel, but there's a very nasty Armco wall out there, which you've seen Scott Pye make contact with in practice for the V8 Supercars. And once again, while we're under safety car, it's because of this one. Scott Nicholas, big lock-up, losing the rear, and just would have been very happy to not go into the Armco fence, which is very easy to do down there.
It's the exciting part of the circuit down the hill. Oh. The car gets light on the left, the car gets right on the right. You're up over the curb, you're hard on the brakes, you're trying to ease the brake pressure on. So I expect to see a lot more action from the utes down over the top of the hill.
So Roll Harris is leading the race, and everybody looking on from down the pits at the moment. So far, so good. We've managed to bring the utes around with the relative limited amounts of carnage that we have seen from them on occasions, but it is early days in the week, and we do have a reverse grid race still to come as well, as we wait to see when the Petters SRT safety car will be making its way back towards pit lane. He's actually got Matt Stone engineering him this weekend as well, son of Jim Stone, part of the Stone Brothers operation, which has seen so much success at this track and all around the country. And very much looking forward to what Royal Harris can do when he steps back into a V8 Supercar for the 250-kilometre race that will get the Dunlop Series on the mountain. Very much looking forward to getting there for the super cheap auto Bathurst 1000. For Chris Walton, though, he's been the man to beat all season long. Very strong over in Perth, leading this championship charge. And the good news for him is David Cedars back in 8th position right now, so a good chance to extend that championship lead.
It certainly helps him a lot, doesn't it? And as you say, Chris Walton has been the man to beat this year. The last couple of years, he's been fast. He's been up there, he's had great results, podiums, then he'd find himself back in the field. But this year, he's been able to build that consistency. He's worked out how to get the most out of the tyre and how to get it, you know, as you say, he's got his first pole position this weekend. So it's quite exciting to see Chris. He's had that great year, leading the championship, and this is his chance to wrap it up and pull the trophy.
Riding on board with the Jesus Racing ute as we check out some more of the action. And there's one thing that we've been used to seeing over the years. It's the utes getting out in the grass, sliding around. These guys definitely know how to drive them sideways.
Yeah, they're pretty exciting. They actually handle quite well for, and you'd think that could be going to be quite light in the rear. The braking's quite hard. You've got to be very sensitive with the brakes. You put a bit of pressure on it, then you try and load it. But once you lock that tyre, you've got to release it really quickly and try and get the car under control. And as you can see, he's and Barry's gone a bit heavy. He's released the brake. The car's gone in deep. He's had to get the thing sliding through the grass there. And as you say, on the lock stops, hanging onto it. But he did a great job, and that's what we tend to love about the utes.
There'll be some changes happening in this category over the next few years, much like we'll be seeing in V8 Supercars when Holden and Ford stop manufacturing in Australia. We're facing a very similar situation with the utes because we won't have the same utes that we're used to seeing and loving for so many years. But the good news is there is a plan, and we might be seeing some more manufacturers appearing in very different style space cab chassis with the utes as well. And I've seen some of the original designs that look very, very cool.
Yeah, we've known these utes to be like this for a number of years now. They've changed models, but the basis of what the car is, it starts as a production car, they turn them into a race car, and it's been what we know as the ute series for many years. But with that big change coming, look, it is pretty exciting. I've seen some drawings, I've seen some ideas. I've been involved in the testing with the utes, and I've actually driven many different types of things. So I reckon it's going to be quite exciting what they bring up in the next generation of the ute racing. But lights are out the safety car, so here we go, let's go racing.
That's what we want to see. The Pest is going to lead the field around once again.
On this one, Ryan, if you can hear me.
We can hear you. Loud and clear.
No overlapping until past the green flag in the flag box down the middle of the straight there.
That is the voice of Matt Stone, who is on the headset for Royal Harris this weekend as we come back to green flag racing. Slowly, slowly holds the field up. Now he sees the green. He drops the hammer and away we go. But I tell you what, Walton's got a pretty good restart. So too has Cedars. He's looking up the inside of a few. It's going to be very tight at the approach to turn 1. About 8 utes, all in a very tight space as Jesse Dixon wants a bit of the outside of Walton. He'll be a brave man to go around the outside. Oh, Jeremy Gray in contact, and there goes Hansford. Hansford's going backwards into the gravel, and hopefully he can get that thing moving. And we won't go back to a safety car. It looks like he's out of there. A couple of Fords got together when it really mattered down to turn 1, and it probably, to be fair, Jason, someone was always going to get speared off there.
Well, you know, I mean, when these guys go 2 and 3 wide, it's often the one on the outside that comes off second best. But it's a bit of a pity there because it was looking like it was a quite nice, kind restart. But Harris has still got that little jump now. He's been able to pull that little bit of a gap back on Walton. Here we are on board with Andrew Fisher again with Nathan Pretty having a look up the inside. No, he thinks about it. He thinks. No, he pulls out.
Thought about it and then thought better of it as we approached the Dandenong Road section where we had the car stranded earlier, and it's very close towards the front of this field at the moment. Here is that replay once again, and we're going to see the guy on the outside. 3 into 1 was never going to work. And unfortunately for the multi-spares ute.
Yeah, Hansford's tried to turn in there, and Gray was in the middle. He didn't have much to do, but he was trying to get out of it, but obviously that little bit of contact has turned Hansford around. So that's a bit of a racing incident, that one. It's what happens when you try and throw 3 into a space of 2.
Yokohama replays, the gravel flies at turn 1. Won't be the first, won't be the last time, I should say, that we see a fair bit of gravel flying and a fair bit of paint swapping at Sandown this weekend as we pick up your leaders once again, fighting our way through lap 8 at the moment. And down towards turn 1 we go, with Roll Harris leading and the Fords continuing their domination so far. It's been 12 months since we've seen a Holden take pole position. Russell Ingall doesn't look all that impressed at the moment.
He's just getting relaxed.
He's focusing on the job at hand later this weekend when he shares the Lucas Dumbrell Motorsport car with Tim Blanchard. Interestingly, the man who's currently back in the field in 8th position, Jared McLeod, will actually be changing his tyres this weekend as he's one of the mechanics down at LDM.
Front left, he's got it all sorted this weekend. They've been practicing this morning. He walked into the circuit and all the teams are out in pit lane. It was exciting to see. So endurance racing time is very exciting.
Now this is going to be the final lap of the race as Harris lets the back hang out through 6. Can he get the thing stopped by the time he gets down to 9? Look at Walton, he's trying to line himself up here.
I was going to say, Harris has gone very defensive there, trying to cover the line, which has given Chris Walton a little bit of a sniff, but he's a little bit too far back to make it pass down the inside here. So it looks like if Harris can get through these last couple of corners, the race cut short due to the time, but it looks like Harris is going to be the one that's going to pull it off.
Second flag's going to wave. Keep going.
Not a bad way to start life at Matt Stone Racing. His first race win since we're on the streets of the Gold Coast last year. A shortened race with the safety car, but he was quick and he won the battle off the front row and takes the first race of the weekend. Nice work from Royal Harris, and it's always pressure driving when you've got a guy like Chris Walton in your mirrors, but the important thing from a championship point of view is Walton will extend that championship lead out. He just about doubles it, as a matter of fact. The Cedars will be starting to get very nervous. You can't let that lead get much bigger by the time we get to Bathurst.
Yeah, it's obviously a lot of hard work, particularly if you're back in the field a little bit. You still got to make smart decisions. You still need those points because you never know what's going to happen in these reverse grid races. So obviously there for Chris Walton. He was just starting to line that move up, and they popped out with a checkered flag, which is not really hurting Chris at the moment. He doesn't mind collecting those results, collecting those points. It's
a marble draw. It's random for the reverse grid race, and we're not too sure where that's going to be just yet. It is the job of Royal Harris to pick that number. So how far back will he be going for the second race? We'll have to wait and see, and you'll be able to catch their third race tomorrow live as well. Let's check out how they finished up. Only half a second separating first from second. And once again, just like we've seen at every single event so far this year, the Fords have taken the first win of the weekend, but the Holdens typically bounce back in the reverse grid race. Jesse Dixon was the quickest of those Holdens, and he was on a bit of a charge there for a while.
He was actually the fastest car at the circuit, so definitely there's not much difference between those cars. You can see George Badecki there, he managed to survive that exciting first lap to finish in the top 12. Kim Jane, been racing in the Utes for a long time, great result for him in 13th. And down to Matt Nolan there. Good recovery, actually, after that crash on Friday. Been to hospital, he's back again. The guys worked on the car, they got it out there, and it's a great job to see him out on the track. Ryan
Hansford, probably the heartbreak story there as he got fired off backwards later, or early in that race when there was 3 trying to fit down into 1. Exciting stuff, and, well, Roll Harris will be just happy to taste victory once again because it's been a long, long time since he's managed to step onto that top step. Now he needs to get the job done later as the V8 Supercar boys can now start their preparations, qualifying the races, not so much race 29, it's more the early action that we'll be seeing later today when we get into these 2 races of the grids. But let's just check out, Jason, once again how this all unfolded in the highlights today. Turn 1, Cedars was on a charge to try and make up a few more points and wasn't making any friends with Nathan Pretty in doing so.
And then we had Barry out in the gravel. He's done a great job to hang on to that one. So these guys quite calm for race 1 here at Sandown this weekend. They want to get the results, but check the sideways action out. I love it.
Wild stuff. Big moment, this one. Scott Nicholas locked up, spun out, parked it backwards down there in the gravel, and that would bring out a safety car.
Oh, I've got it. No, I haven't.
Peter's Motorsport Ute stuck firmly down there in the gravel, but thankfully we managed to get the back again once we had the Petters SRT safety car come out and have a look at how close this restart was. Royal Harris really bunching him up for the green flag. You had a feeling that it was all going to boil over by the time we arrived at turn 1, and unfortunately for Ryan Hansford, the man on the outside of this battle, he was the guy who got speared off.
Well, he did come from the furthest back. He's tried to go around the outside, turned in, and unfortunately there was enough contact, a little bit of a racing incident, that one.
This is the view from Jeremy Gray. We had Cedars up the inside, and unfortunately Jeremy was stuck in the middle. Probably the man who really took the advantage of all that was Jared McLeod. He picked up a couple. The fight at the front of the field was good. He just managed that gap, tried to manage his tyres. And nice work from Royal Harris, taking out the first win of the weekend for the V8 Utes, fueled by Hog's Breath Cafe. 2 more races for those guys coming up later this weekend.
All right, thanks very much, Chad. Thanks, Jason. A great Ute race. And if you enjoyed that, that's the tip of the iceberg. We have so much more coming for you this afternoon. Just a reminder, wherever you're watching around Australia, to keep watching our coverage of the Wilson Security Sandown 500. Switch across to Channel 7 after the break. There is so much more to come. We're really looking forward to a great afternoon, of course. We've got the sprint for the grids still to come. Don't miss it. Switch to Channel 7 after the break. Now, V8 Extra is next with Neil Crompton and Mark Scaife. The boys will take you through all the key driver pairings. Then it's a 20-minute qualifying session to set up our 2 20-lap sprints for the grid. It's going to get hot this afternoon. All 50 drivers are in action today here at Sandown, so stay right there.